Supervolcanoes are rated by their volcanic explosivity index, or VEI, which measures the magnitude of an eruption, and the scale goes up to 8. Well, that's where things get really bad. In fact, at the VEI 8 level, there is total global annihilation. So how could anyone survive that? But we're not talking about a level 8 here. We're talking about surviving a level 7 supervolcanic eruption. And this is what it would take. Level 7 eruptions happen once every 50,000 years and cover between 2,000 and 5,000 square miles in ash. Now, if you were near the volcano when this happened, your best bet would be to move away from the danger zone as fast as possible. If you can get away from the volcano within the first couple of days after the eruption, while the skies are still clear, then you may have a chance of surviving the initial blast. What you're escaping is a pyroclastic flow, a current of hot gas and solid matter that moves from the volcano at high speed. These flows are capable of leveling forests and incinerating anything in their path. So, assuming you make it to safety, let's say you got out of Dodge, and you're now 100 miles away from the volcano, and you think you're safe. Nope, not quite. A supervolcanic eruption of this size will cause the air to become superheated. There are going to be wildfires for thousands of acres all around the volcano, and even 100 miles away, your area will be affected by extreme heat. All the trees surrounding you will be on fire. They'll burn until they reach their flammable limit. At that point, the branches will start falling down. You'll need to find some sort of shelter under something sturdy, like a log cabin or a rock overhang, somewhere where burning branches are not going to fall on top of you and turn you into a pile of ashes. After the initial eruption and the fires, a layer of ash will start raining down from the sky. This will probably go on for weeks, and you'll need to stay inside whatever shelter you've found. This is important because breathing in superheated ash can be fatal. It'll burn your throat and lungs and kill you within a few hours. So staying in a sealed shelter would be critical. Let's assume you manage to survive all that. Then things are going to get really dark. Even during the day, it will be impossible to see through the ash clouds. At night, it will look like daytime, except instead of daylight, it will be glowing orange from all the superheated ash in the air. Eventually, the rain will stop and the sun will come back out again. You'll finally be able to see, but it will be like nothing you've ever seen before. Everything will be covered in ash. It will be silent. All the birds will have been incinerated or suffocated. No animals will be moving around. There won't even be insects. There will just be you, completely alone in a silent world. You're probably wondering how long this will last. How long will it be until you starve to death? Well, the good news is that you'll probably die much sooner than that. You see, the ash that covers the ground will also absorb all the heat from the sun. And this will cause the entire surface of the earth to become a massive barbecue grill. Plants will die. Crops will die. You'll die. The only way you might survive is if you're hiding in an ice cave or somewhere deep underground where the temperatures remain constant year-round. If for some reason you do survive, you'll need to venture outside at some point. To get food, water, maybe to try and find another human being, hopefully not one who wants to eat you. When you go outside, you'll find that everything has turned to glass. The intense heat from the supervolcanic eruption melted the silica in the soil and turned it into a hard, brittle surface. Because the temperature was so high, it'll be impossible to dig through this glass, not even with bare hands. What about the water? Will there be any water left? Well, yes, but you won't be able to drink it. The water in rivers and lakes will still be there, but it will be full of volcanic debris, so it will either taste horrible or it will kill you. If you want to drink fresh water, you'll have to melt snow from a mountain. However, this will require a lot of energy. And speaking of energy, you're not gonna be able to drive your car or truck or motorcycle anywhere. The intense heat from the supervolcanic eruption would have melted all the roads. And to make matters worse, the surface of the earth would now be incredibly slippery. Walking would be difficult because the ash mixed with the melted glass would form a thick, sticky mud on the soles of your shoes. You'd need to keep wiping the soles of your feet on the sides of your pants as you walk to prevent yourself from slipping and breaking your neck. So where would you even go? Well, you wouldn't be able to go very far. Your destination would have to be someplace without ash, but most importantly, without people. The chances of a nuclear exchange happening right after a supervolcanic eruption are pretty high. World leaders would blame each other for the disaster, and they'd probably retaliate with nukes. So you'd want to go somewhere away from civilization. But what about the rest of nature? Would there be any wildlife left? Remember those birds I mentioned earlier? The ones that were incinerated or suffocated? Well, that's not just birds. Every animal, every insect, every living thing would have been killed by the supervolcanic eruption. Anything that didn't run away fast enough would have been caught in the pyroclastic flow and turned into a pancake. Anything that did run away fast enough would have eventually starved to death when all the plants died. And that's why you'll want to bring along seeds when you leave your shelter. We're not talking about just any old seeds though. You're going to need to have special seeds, seeds that can withstand the harsh conditions that will follow the supervolcanic eruption, seeds like those found in a so-called dead zone. Dead zones are areas that have been stripped of oxygen, light, and nutrients. The seeds that grow in these conditions are extremely tough and hardy. But let's say you do all these things. Let's say you escape the initial blast, you survive the fires and the ash and the heat, and you manage to find food and water, and you don't get nuked, and you manage to find a place with no people, animals, or plants, meaning that you can be the first person to plant. Even still, there's one thing that would probably kill you: the lack of oxygen. The ash cloud blocking the sun would mean that there would be no photosynthesis. Plants rely on photosynthesis to convert carbon dioxide into oxygen. Without plants, there would be no oxygen. Humans can only survive a few minutes without oxygen. So if you want to survive a supervolcanic eruption, you're going to need to carry around an oxygen tank or some sort of breathing apparatus. Let's say you do all that stuff. You manage to survive. Do you get to live happily ever after? No. While the immediate area around the supervolcano would be devastated, the rest of the world would actually benefit from the disaster. You see, the ash from the eruption would fertilize the soil in areas far away from the volcano, making the soil incredibly fertile. In fact, scientists believe that the most fertile soil on Earth can be found in places that have been covered in volcanic ash. So that means that if you traveled far enough away from the supervolcanic eruption, you would be able to find plenty of food growing naturally in the wild. You would just have to contend with the natives. You see, the supervolcanic eruption wouldn't just kill everyone in its immediate vicinity, it would kill almost everyone on Earth. So you would be one of the lucky ones, if you made it past the nuclear fallout, the fires, the ash, the heat, the starvation, the lack of oxygen, and the poisonous water. And if you managed all that, then congratulations, you survived the worst natural disaster in history. Now, go watch worst natural disasters that could wipe out humanity, or click this other video instead.